Hello, Don Williams and Iris Tan again for the Institute of Sports and Spines. Today we're going to be talking about gait mechanics and gait drills to improve your running style. So we have a lot of patients come in and they have issues with poor gait mechanics, feet, knee, hip issues that are related to how they run. There's a whole bunch of little drills that you can do that can improve those deficiencies or issues with your gait. There's a whole stack of little points, so we might have a few errors in this video today. Hopefully we can get it through nice and clearly for you. So one of the things we want to see with gait is nice upright posture. When you look at most really good runners, they're nice and straight. Usain Bolt, really straight. Michael Johnson, 400 metre runner from years ago, was renowned for almost looking like he was leaning backwards when he ran. But if you want to run fast, you generally want to have a nice upright posture. So one of the first drills we want to think about is ears, shoulders, hips, knees and ankles in a straight line. So we should be like this. So I'd encourage you to think when you're out running, try and lean as far backwards as you can, because you will probably still not be upright enough if you're a sloucher. So think about that, nice and tall. That's the first drill we want you to think about. Second drill is arm position. If you have your arms loose and flopping all over the place, you will bleed energy. You'll waste movement with arms swinging, make your trunk counteract, so you're using force that you don't need to. So we want the elbows nice and tight. We sometimes get people to put a 20-cent coin in the elbow and hold it there. So when you run, they never change position. Some people like to have loose hands and wrists and fingers. Some people like to keep them in fists. But we still keep that 20-cent coin in the crease of the elbow. When we run, we also want to see the knees, hips and feet moving in the same plane. So when we're watching from in front, we want to see this marching or gait cycle with the leg going through this pattern. We'll often see people running daffy, or particularly with the knees running in or the hips swaying a lot while they run. So we don't want to see that. So from a front or rear view, you want to see people walking through or striding through this pattern. Now you can have a look on our YouTube channel. We've got some patterns on symmetrical walking technique and even walking techniques where we have focus on how the knees, feet and ankles are tracking in relation to the hips. And I encourage you to have a think about that. But look at yourself run, or have you someone video you from behind so you can see what's the legs and look at this component. Next thing we want to think about is what we do with our toes and our knees. So one of the things you see with good runners, when they have to cross a footpath or a gutter and there's something in the way, they don't have to jump to clear it. So good runners bring their feet through with a high cycle. What I mean by that, if you watch them as their foot comes through, it's like mid-calf or higher. Lazy runners run with their toes pointed towards the ground and they tend to trip and stumble. So when they go over footpaths and gutters, you'll see them hop to clear it. So the first drill with the legs is toes high. And I encourage you to do some kicking movements on the ground. I've got bare feet today so you can see what's happening with my feet. So we kick the ground and we bring the foot off. So it's almost like a paw movement. I'm using a rail to support myself so I can do the crawl, kick, crawl, kick. Some people describe it as a shin irritation or shin pain when they start to do this as a drill. So what I'd suggest, tibialis anterior, this muscle here, you can see it as my toes go up and down. This muscle is the one that pulls the toes up, and if you're with your toes pointed down and you integrate this drill, you're going to get sore shins from it. That's totally normal, and that's what we want to see. Next drill is knees high. Try standing holding onto something with the legs straight and move it as fast as you can, and you'll feel your body has a lot of action to that. So once again, you're using a lot of force and stability to try and control that straight leg gait pattern. If you can bend the knee and move it, you'll find that you can go a lot faster. So the next drill we want to focus on is getting that knee bent, bringing the knee through, so it's a knee-driven mechanism. It gets difficult to remember that drill. When you're out running, most people at the straight leg, it's a short stride, and they can't bring the knees very high. So we want to aim for about 45 degrees, and then the next component of the movement is called the snap, where the foot snaps out in front and it comes backwards. Now there's a lot of arguments over whether we want a forefoot strike or heel strike when we run. When you watch good runners, it's often a combination of things that occur, but we want the foot to be travelling backwards when it hits the ground. So slower runners or people with lazy patterns, you'll see them land out in front with the heel, they have a deceleration moment, and then they come through and they accelerate. For very good runners, as the knee comes through, the foot is actually travelling backwards when it hits the ground. Now for the majority, the heel is still hitting the ground first, but all of the acceleration, all of the movement is backwards. They don't have a deceleration moment, it's all forward acceleration, and they pull themselves through. So for this drill, we want to think of trying to drag, some people say dragging dog poo off the bottom of the shoe, but trying to drag the shoe through on the ground. It's almost like we're stroking the ground with our foot. So that's the last drill I want you to think about in isolation. So to break them down again. First, standing really tall. Second, the 20-cent coin in the elbows. Keep the elbows nice and tight. Third is toes high. Fourth is keep the knee bent. Lead with the knee to 45 degrees. The snap. So the last one is foot travelling backwards when you hit the ground. So it should look like you're pulling through nice and straight. So there's a few tips on running gait technique and some running gait drills. Hope you enjoy them. Thanks for watching the Institute of Sports and Spines.